In this session, we are going to look at the Surface Analysis Wizard. The Surface Analysis Wizard allows us to create a triangulated model. Once we have a triangulated model, we can analyze that model to look at contours, depth bands, long sections, etc. We access the Surface Analysis Wizard from either an application toolbar, and it's usually the third icon along, and when you click on that you'll get another toolbar, and it's the second icon on that toolbar will launch the surface analysis, or we can get it from the top menu by going to Analysis, Surface Analysis. This will bring up the Model to Analyze panel. On this Model to Analyze panel, MX will ask you for the model to be analyzed. You can select either a string model or a previously created triangulation model. If you're creating or analyzing a triangulated model, then MX will ask you for the triangulation string name. In our case, we're going to analyze our road survey model, which happens to be a string model. So we would select the road string model here on the Model to Analyze panel and then select Next. We then have the Surface Analysis main menu. On this panel, we can select contours to create the contours. We can then select level bands, and level bands will look at the highest level on the site or the lowest level on the site, and that will give us a level difference throughout the site, and we can divide that level difference into a number of bands, and MX will color those bands in on the screen for you. Slope bands is very similar to level bands, except it's going to divide the survey into bands of different slopes. Aspect bands will show you either north facing slopes, south facing slopes, west facing slopes, whatever you want to choose. Flat spots will show you any areas that's less than 1 in 40. Steep slopes will show you any areas greater than, I think, is 10%. Flow arrows shows you which way the ground is falling. Draw a simple long section will obviously draw a long section. Display the triangulation and catchment areas. So on here we're going to select contours, and it brings up the contour panel. On the contour panel we can choose the interval we want MX to create the contours. By default the normal contour interval is 1 meter, but you can change that to any value that you wish, and the prominent contour interval is 5 times the normal contour interval. You can also change the contour colors. The default is red for normal, blue for prominent. The Levels tab will allow you to annotate the contours with the contour level at what interval you wish to choose. Smoothing will smooth the contours out by invoking curve fitting into the contours, but this does increase the size of the analysis inside your database, and usually for road schemes we tend not to produce smoother contours, so we tend to leave it on none. When you go next, MX will produce the contours. Level bands. Here we can see from the panel that MX is showing us what the maximum level on this site is and what the minimum level on the site is. If we were to click on the bands tab, that will be defaulted to 10 bands. So MX will deduct the maximum level from the minimum level and divide that level difference by 10 and provide colors to those level bands and display this on the screen. And you can see this by the key. If you select the key, it'll show you what colors are going to be supplied to which band. Again with this, when you go next, you'll come to the Surface Analysis Review panel. And this Surface Analysis Review panel will always appear when you select an option from the main menu, like contours or level bands, process it, you'll always come to this Surface Analysis Review panel. On here, it gives you three options. It says next for further surface analysis, back to undo what you've just done, or finish to exit. Now when you go next, at the bottom, the current analysis that you've just asked MX to process will be deleted from the display by default. If you want to keep that analysis on the display, uncheck the box. When you go finish, as I said, this works on temporary models. Now MX will ask you, do you wish to save the temporary models? If you do, you have to rename the models and then exit the surface analysis option. We're now going to look at the surface analysis option. So I'm going to go to Analysis, Surface Analysis. The model to be analysed in our case is our road survey. And I'm going to go next. Our triangulated model has been generated. If I open the MX output window, you can see here that MX has created the triangulated model and it's took 1 second to complete. We do have a model conflict here, and the model conflict is shown where these two strings intersect. You have a choice to abandon your analysis now and go and correct this problem, but in this particular instance we're not going to make any changes to the existing survey model, so I'm going to accept that we do have a level difference at this situation. I'm going to create my contours. On this particular site, I'm going to make the contour interval 0.2 of a meter. Our prominent contour is 5 times the normal. I'm going to leave the colours as red and blue. Levels is going to annotate the contour every 50 meters. I'm going to change that because we're not going to get many contours on this particular scheme. I'm going to make it every 20 meters. And I'm not going to invoke any smoothing. And I'm going to go next. You can see here the contours. Red is normal, blue is prominent. These contours are at 200mm intervals through the site. And you can see that. I'm now going to go next. Now the analysis, which is the contours in this instance, is going to be deleted from the display. I'm now going to look at level bands. On our particular site, the minimum level is 83.259 and the maximum level is 89.009. We're going to divide it by 10 bands. I'm going to do it between the contours and I'm going to go next. I'm going to get the key. So on our site, the highest level was 89.009 and the lowest level was 83.259. So the highest level is going to be displayed in purple and the lowest levels are going to be displayed in red. And if I just zoom out, we can see where they are. So you can see on our particular site that the low area is to the bottom of our screen and there is a high area here displayed by purple. I'm just going to go OK on this and I'm going to go next. Remember, the analysis will be deleted from the display. I'm going to look at flat spots because we're going to look at this model to create an overlay scheme. So by default we're looking at less than 1 in 40. I'll just change the color here to yellow so it stands out more and go next. So it's going to show me areas on this site that's less than 1 in 40. We have some areas on the existing carriageway which potentially could affect us when we come to do our design, because the standard crossfall in the UK is 1 in 40. Let me go next. Let me do some flow arrows. Again, I'll change the color so you can see them better. I'll just increase the size and go next. This is going to show me which way the ground is falling. Again, it's useful information. Next and lastly, I'm going to display my triangulation. Again, I'm going to choose a color and I'm going to go next. This is our triangulated model completed. Our triangular mesh links all the points and strings together. I am now going to go finish. These are the models that MX has generated through the analysis. So do you want to keep them or not? It's entirely up to you. I am going to keep the triangles and I'm going to call them road survey triangles. I'm also going to keep the contours. I'm going to call those road survey contours, but I'm not going to delete the level band model. I'm not going to keep that. So I'm now going to go OK. And if I was to look at my display options inside MX, there's my road survey. If I hit the pull down, I've now got road survey contours and road survey triangles. And I could delete them, I could display them if I wish to.